Okay, yeah, thanks for joining. This is our 10th meeting, which is a nice number as we're closing the year. As always, a quick reminder, all of these calls are recorded, so you always find them in our YouTube channel. Before we hear from core devs on the latest updates, I just wanted to share that we're in the process of revamping not only these calls, but also how we share all of these core R&D updates with all of you guys. So moving forward, you'll have access to recorded ad hoc meetings the different teams are having, as well as what the canonical roadmap looks like, and the different formalized working groups we have here. So we will be organizing all of these using the Foundation's Notion workspace, so it should all be fairly accessible to all of you. This monthly call specifically will then be used as a way to share and discuss updates, as we'll do today. Those will be coming from different working groups as major milestones are hit, basically. So do stay on the lookout for future updates. We'll post everything in the forum. Cool. So since we've had this last call 2 months ago, I think we should take a couple of minutes to hear from other core devs what they've been up to. So alphabetically, I think, can we start with Edge node? Yanis, I think that's the first letter we have.
Yeah, of course.
Cool.
I'll quickly share my screen just to walk you through the nodes I have here. Yeah, so I'll dive right in. We shipped recently a new Rust gateway that replaces the old one that was written in TypeScript. It has much better throughput, so should be able to carry at least hosted service, amounts of volumes, and you've all seen the charts on Twitter about the traffic we're seeing there. So this should be able to handle that easily. Also, there have been a number of index selection reliability improvements. So primarily to improve the client or consumer experience when, for instance, there's faulty indexers, that we fall back to others in better ways, and that we also score them more dynamically, so we react more quickly to changes in the environment. There've also been new graph node releases and new indexer releases. And especially, yeah, both of those really are super important. And if there's any indexers on the call today, I urge you to update your indexer service at least, and graph node, but I think the indexer agent the same way. The biggest change that I personally am excited about and interested in is the GIP20. This is untestable indexer responses, has been released as part of these versions, and that's why it's so important to update, because this is a way that we can in the gateway detect when certain indexes have issues that are, for instance, due to like a corrupt database or something else. And if we can detect this, that means the indexer doesn't get used for that particular query result and isn't on the hook for attestations for problematic results that they themselves probably don't have confidence in, but don't know that something's up. It also means that we can detect these from the consumer perspective and fall back to other indexers and who hopefully don't have the same corrupt database, right? So this is catching errors that are specific to individual indexers, are not part of what's expected. It's not like query syntax errors that graph node detects or something like that, or like schema mismatch errors, but it's really errors that result from something being broken on the indexer. So this is super important because it also increases the reliability a ton in the network. So yes, please update and please read the release notes. They will have a lot of information. What's currently in progress on Edge node side is that we are planning what we call file data sources. There is a GIP out for that, I believe, in the forum as well. So this is essentially replacing what was previously IPFS cat, basically. So it's supposed to support file storage networks like IPFS or Arweave, and basically segregates out the files that we fetch from those networks as part of subgraph indexing from data sources like Ethereum contracts or near contracts. So this is being planned. It's a pretty invasive feature, and it's been on the pipeline for a long time, and we've wrecked our brains on how to solve this, and hopefully this time around we'll actually make it happen. There's also a number of performance optimizations that we're investigating at the moment to speed up indexing performance. The first ones that we will be working on most likely are on the trigger side, pipelining the block streams, so pipelining the filtering for relevant triggers, so that we don't do that in sequences or block ranges, but we pipeline those block ranges. There's also work ongoing to make the firehose work for Ethereum, or make it work well for Ethereum. So specifically, one area that we're looking into is filtering, pre-filtering information that the firehose passes to GraphNode on the firehose side, and providing those filters that are subgraph specific from GraphNode. To just make sparse subgraphs or block ranges where there is no information, just faster and not pass all the blocks over to GraphNode. And then on the store side, we're looking into pipelining writing entity data back to the store, just so that when you are done with a block and you want to write the entity changes, that doesn't block processing, and we can continue indexing additional blocks while we are also queuing the writes up. There's also an investigation into using copy versus insert statements, which are supposedly faster. I think newer Postgres releases also have a built-in pipelining mechanism, so we're looking into a few of those kind of improvements. Slightly bigger feature that we're pondering to introduce are immutable entities. A lot of cases, where you, for instance, have transfers or something, you create a transfer entity and that never changes. So that would make a lot of things simpler and faster in GraphNode when you know that entities never change. Yeah, and last but not least, also started working on previously talked about as sort of integration testing or proof of indexer cross-checking or dispute analysis. This is now kind of all rolled into one effort, which I think like indexer cross-checking is a bit more appropriate for. So basically have a system to continuously cross-check indexing results and query results across different environments, and those could be indexers, those could be custom GraphNode setups to compare different GraphNode versions, for instance, and see that they index identical, generate identical data from indexing subgraphs. Could also be run in a network mode where all the indexers in the network are cross-checked, or it could run in a peer-to-peer mode that different indexers can run, and they can configure other indexers to collaborate with and get detailed information from to help debugging or detecting discrepancies in the data or in the query results, just to give them more confidence in that everything is running fine on their side. So this work has also started, and we'll share more information about that pretty soon, I think. That's probably not a complete list, but there's an update from EdgeNode.
Perfect. Thanks, Janis. Right on time. If you have 5 minutes for each, that would be great. Figment, Joseph, are you on the call?
I'm here. I'm gonna share my screen. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna start with some challenges right now that we're having. The first one is around the performance for syncing order block heights, and this is something right now is current like a task under research. So we have it here under challenge, but at the same time we have it under next steps. So we are currently trying to find some strategies and doing some research about how we could actually increase the performance. I think this is going to be like a room for collaboration with the other core dev teams as well. And we faced some issues related to the merger, and we created a tool actually to verify the integrity of this merge file. So we have it here in achievements. So this is like a challenge that was resolved. And so for everyone here on this call, everything that we're doing right now is around integrating Tendermint. So we are close to the final steps right now. So there's a lot of finalization and some bug test, the fixing and testing. And on the active side, we are implementing right now the Tendermint within the Graph CLI and wrapping the last pieces of the extractor package. And those are like the few last steps for integrating Tendermint. And we were able to finish the event trigger refactoring. And as I said, we fixed a lot of bugs and improved and did some updates on the ingester stack. And we are running right now the entire multi-node setup. That's the ingester, relayer, merger, firehose, everything. The plan is to keep it running for 2 weeks now to be able to test it and check if there's something malfunctioning and if we run into some problems. And yeah, that's it. Like for everything that we're doing currently. And the next step is actually the deployment of the firehose stack, keep testing it, and create a full subgraph, which we're going to be using actually also for our testings.
Great, thanks, Joseph. Okay, let's move on. We have Alex from StreamingFast. I believe these guys are also pretty busy.
Okay, so let's do that. So we have done a lot of work on Solana in the past. You guys know there's been a release of the near stuff. This is continuing a little bit, processing the test net. We put a PR out to update the latest data schema there. So near should be more advanced and ready to be more used. So everyone out there, if you want to have near indexing, try it out. Go ahead. Now is the time. We've done a lot of Solana work, but also we're continuing that work. Got more hope. There's a lot of things that need to be managed there. And we might have some discussions today if we have the chance about how we're going to share that. If everyone wants to synchronize from Genesis, which is pretty hard. That's one thing. I would like also to call out to all the people who are indexers that have not yet spun off as Firehose. Please do. If you want to be a kingpin in the graph, run a Firehose and start doing that work so we can accelerate the performance improvements downstreams or for subgraph developers. Get involved in that. It's pretty cool. And you're going to be really highlighted. We're going to have a little board there with your face or something when you're some of the first to do that. We've been tackling some BSC issues, a lot related to the nodes. So that's been annoying, people confusing the graph, subgraphs, and the nodes. Hopefully we can bring the Firehose for BSC soon, so we get that performance boost that comes from having it. So if you're interested to be a more kingpin, do that with BSC. Satisfied with the demand. We're working right now on a lot of improvements to the, like Yanis told us about the performance and the sparseness of files. So we're implementing transforms right now for Solana, which is required, and then ingraining that for acceleration of sparser queries or larger speed filtering on whole histories. So that's approximately it, right? Oh yeah, so the team is also working to make sure that call handlers on Ethereum work well with the Firehose and doing some comparison stuff. So that's going to be cool. Okay, I don't want to take too much time here. We've done a little bit of a collaboration with Figment, which I'm really happy we're going to continue on doing and reviewing the GIPs coming out of there, the Tendermint work. Yeah, amazing. We might have some time to properly discuss that today. So cool. Thanks, Alex. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of teams there. I'm counting 7 on this call, which is crazy, and we don't have everybody here. So I'd like to take also the time to shout out to the guild, also a new team that's been actively working on subgraph features. You might have seen their schema prototyper announced on the forum as well. This was a Wave 1 grant. And I believe we have Dotan on the call. So maybe Dotan, you want to introduce the team and tell us what you're working on really?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with a short introduction. So I'm Dotan. I'm a member of a group of developers called the Guild. We're a group of open source developers, mainly focused around GraphQL. We're also part of the GraphQL Foundation. We're maintaining the reference implementation of GraphQL, and we help with the maintenance of the GraphQL spec. We're also working on like tools around GraphQL, like Graphicals and a few more. And we're building tons of open source around GraphQL, like GraphQL Mesh, GraphQL CodeGen, Inspector, ESLint, tons of more tools. Yeah, we're super happy to join and be part of this huge thing. We just joined like officially like a few days ago, just the contract signed. Yeah, I won't take much time. I have a very quick update on what we're doing. We're taking like baby steps on learning GraphNode and everything related to it. We're trying to compare and learn from the implementation based on our experience and knowledge from the GraphQL ecosystem that is not Rust specific. Yeah, I have a few more here, like the few more updates. The biggest thing we're going to work on soon, I guess, will be API versioning and composition of subgraphs. Yeah, that's all from. Super excited to be part of this thing. Thank you, Pedro.
Amazing. Thanks, Dotan. It's good to know we have a new team focused on GraphQL stuff. These guys know what they're building for sure. Subgraph composition will be a major milestone, hopefully, in the upcoming months. Cool. Thanks, Dotan. Lastly, we also have LimeChain. You know, LimeChain has been working very closely with us. There's a lot of new tools coming out. Specifically, we have a new one called the Subgraph Debug tool. I don't think many core devs know exactly what this tool does, so it might be a good time to talk a little bit about this. Do we have, I think I saw Ilya on the chat or Petko. I don't know. Guys, can you update us?
We are both here and
You're both in. Cool.
Thanks, Pedro.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, perfectly. Hi, Petko.
Cool. Fine. Yeah, Zoom doesn't seem to give me feedback on the sound. Yeah, so basically we are the team behind the Matchstick unit testing framework. I think I spoke on the last core dev meeting about Matchstick a bit. But yeah, what's really what's sort of the big news right now is this debug tool that was mentioned. It's also called a subgraph forking tool. Unfortunately, our teammate, the developer who was mostly involved with integrating this into GraphNode, is not here, but I can just give a brief explanation. So the whole idea behind the debug tool was that really often a subgraph will fail for some reason after it's been deployed and after it's synced a few million blocks. Then at some point it will fail. And in order to actually check if, so in order to get the subgraph up and running again, you would need to fix what you think is the issue if you have the right logs, and then you would deploy again as a subgraph developer, and you would hope that you had fixed the issue. But then, of course, the subgraph usually starts syncing from the beginning, so from the block 0, which is not really good because it can take a really long time to actually see if your fix has done the job. So what this subgraph debug tool will allow the subgraph developers to do is it will basically run their mappings using the store from the failed subgraph. So essentially, it will just run locally just one block, just the block that the subgraph failed on, and it will use the store that's already in the failed subgraph store, right? Because the subgraph was syncing just fine until now, and it is the most recent block that actually is causing the issue. So that way, subgraph developers can get feedback on if they've managed to fix the issue really fast. So that's the main thing that we've done. The debug tool has been finalized, and it is actually part of GraphNode, and I can maybe share here in the chat or on the Discord some more information about that once I'm done. Yeah, otherwise there will be a new version of Matchstick releasing in the next few days, which has a lot of bug fixes that have come up in the Discord channel. Also a lot of new and useful features that we will describe in the release notes. I guess one of the more important new features is that Matchstick will now have first-class support for Docker, because initially we tried going with the approach of having binaries for a lot of operating systems already generated, and so that the subgraph developers can use the compiled binaries when running Matchstick. But that didn't turn out to be the best idea, because a lot of subgraph developers reported issues locally. So that's why we think that the best way moving forward is to actually use Docker right out of the box. Of course, if the subgraph developer wants to do so, they have three options basically: using the compiled binary, using Docker, and building Matchstick for themselves locally, and then using that binary. Cool. So yeah, I guess that's the most important thing. And in the future, we will be researching a hard hat plugin, but I cannot give more information about that since it's very early stages for now. And of course, we will be working on stabilizing more features in Matchstick. But yeah, that's basically it. I will send more information about everything that I just spoke about in the chat.